Please raise your right hand, please, sir. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
Yes. I don't exactly understand what you're saying. Yes. I need to read the full page, please.
Please take a moment to read it.
Let me just read this, thanks. I don't want to answer incorrectly. I don't remember the exact times. That's a Media Matters edited. That's a Media Matters edited derivative production.
Is that you on that tape?
It's edited.
And that's you talking about, don't think this couldn't be staged. Our government kills little kids all the time. You were the first person in the world to make the false flag theory about Sandy Hook, and you did it before the bodies were even cold. That's the truth.
Oh, okay. Why didn't you just play it unedited?
That's, Mr. Jones, I'm not here to answer your questions. You understand you're here because people have sued you, and you have 4 hours in which they're there to ask you questions. You going to do that for me today?
Yes, I'm answering your questions.
So in that video, yes or no, you were commenting about Sandy Hook?
In the edited video, I was commenting on Sandy Hook. I'm not familiar with what you're talking about.
Okay. You stand by that?
I'm sorry, you're talking so fast.
Sure. Let me slow down a little bit for you, Mr. Jones.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. But what does staged mean?
I'm just asking you what you were telling your audience.
No, I'm
not answering your questions, Mr. Jones. You're going to tell me what stage means when you said it. So what I'm asking you is a few months after the shooting, you had gone from theory to straight up telling your audience Sandy Hook was staged and the evidence was overwhelming. True or false?
But I'm asking you to define what you mean by staged.
I'm not asking for a definition of staged. I don't care what staged means. I'm asking, did you say it?
That when you see a cover-up going on, you're not sure what's happening inside of it. And later we just learned it was a cover-up of, I think, some of the negligence there in the town and with the school. I don't think the teacher that tried to save the kids was negligent, but I think that person was a hero. Sad they got sued. But I do clearly think that there was some cover-up, but it wasn't in that it was the whole thing staged. But that the way the media handled it was synthetic, and the way it was used against gun owners was synthetic.
That's you on the video, right?
Yes, that's me on the short video.
Yeah, it's a short video, I understand. That's you saying you did deep research, correct?
The same objections to form, and that these are highly edited excerpts.
Also, the audio's been altered on all these.
Yeah, can you stop with speaking objections?
I'm just
I know exactly what you're doing, and you need to say objection form, objection leading, assertive privilege, or stay quiet. You do not need to be making suggestive objections about the content of the evidence and what its form is. You don't need to be doing that, Mr. Barnes.
I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying that these are videos that are highly, they're
Mr. Barnes, I haven't
seen
that's a great
these
opinion.
are done before.
I don't understand why your opinion is relevant to this questioning right now. You wouldn't be doing this in a courtroom. Don't do it in my deposition.
Oh, yeah, in a courtroom it wouldn't come in because it wouldn't be admissible.
Then that is why your
rule of completeness.
Mr. Barnes, that's why your objection is preserved as to the form of that evidence. You don't have to raise an objection. The only reason you would be doing it is to possibly influence the witness.
Not trying to influence the witness.
Let's stop
Can
talking.
we have a standing stipulation that when I object to form, that includes an objection to the rule of completeness?
Absolutely.
Although then we're good. We're good.
And we'll also put on the record, every objection to every piece of evidence is preserved under the Texas rules, which is part of Rule 199.
That I was objecting in a way that
Mr. Barnes,
subcomponent was included.
Counsel,
not trying to cause
excuse
problems.
me, counsel. You were speaking over one another. You're making the record very muffled.
I'm sorry. So we have a standing stipulation that when I object to form, that includes an objection on rule of completeness grounds to any evidence that, or a document or exhibit, would otherwise include other excerpts.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes.
Perfect.
Are you saying that's part of his broadcast?
Yes, it says InfoWars right there on the bottom.
Okay, so that's part of the same broadcast.
Yes, do you see where it says InfoWars?
Just as long as you're representing that the video that you're showing him now with the people walking across was part of the same broadcast.
First of
in which you
all,
made statements.
there's only going to be one lawyer defending this deposition, Mr. Enoch. And you've already chosen it. No, Mr. Enoch, there will be one lawyer speaking on the record. There is one lawyer defending the deposition. I am not being tag teamed by the two of you. And so I would appreciate it if you kept your mouth shut for this deposition. Let Mr. Barnes defend the deposition. For the record, in the bottom corner of the screen is a large InfoWars logo. This was broadcast on InfoWars. So, Mr. Jones, my question to you is, when you broadcast this to your audience and you told them this, you knew that wasn't the school,
Mark,
correct?
will you please answer my question? And it's a simple question, I'll stay apart. If you represent that the video of the school that you're showing, the firehouse, was part of the same broadcast in which he made his statements.
Yes.
That's all
Mr.
I'm-
Enoch, we just watched it. Do you really think I edited his words over a different video?
What I think doesn't matter. Thank you for answering the question.
Mr. Enoch, I would appreciate it if you kept quiet the remainder of this deposition and let Mr. Barnes defend the deposition. Mr. Jones, you knew that wasn't the school,
Objection is before.
correct?
I did not know that. This is so edited. It looks like two different shows together. What? Can you play it again? It's so edited. I've never.
Can you play at least the last part there where he's in the video?
Please play the whole thing.
Play the whole video again for him. These are 3 different clips, and I'll remind you, Mr. Jones, these are from November 18, 2016, April 22nd, 2017, and June 13,
You
2017.
just told him it was the same broadcast.
And this one right here is the same broadcast, Mr. Jones.
Which is this the 11th, 18th?
This is November 18th, 2016. Mr. Enoch?
You are maybe you don't intend to do it, Mark, but you're stating something that's not correct. You just said one is from the Megyn Kelly interview. You gave us 3 dates. None of them are the Megyn Kelly date.
I'm sorry if I've given you a wrong date, but
You said-
June 13th,
That
2017?
is not the Megyn Kelly broadcast.
Okay, if I've misstated the date, that's you can object to that. You can do whatever you want. You do agree that's the Megyn Kelly broadcast we were watching? That interview in the middle was from Megyn Kelly interview.
I saw part of that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's
Okay.
just so fast.
We'll keep it slow. We'll keep going through.
Well, no, I watch court TV and stuff. Nobody plays edited tapes.
Okay. Thank you,
I mean,
Mr. Jones.
So it's all edited, so it's hard to respond to this. I want to respond to your questions. It's so edited, like 2-3 second clips, sandwiched in with others, and it looks like more than 3 broadcasts. I can't remember what I talked about sometimes a week ago. I have done almost no preparation for this. It gives me a headache, and you're just showing me a bunch of edited tapes.
What question are you answering?
You're asking me about a bunch of how does someone answer?
Mr. Jones, what question were you answering?
If you put a bunch of pages in a blender with writing on them and blended it all up, and then you ask me what's in the blender, I can't answer you a question with a bunch of
Jones.
blended words.
You were saying that a year before you were sued.
I can't answer this. It's not in context. I don't know what you're showing me.
Of course. So objection non-responsive.
I have no idea what the context of this is. Why are the videos all 3 seconds long?
Because I'm focusing in on specific issues, Mr. Jones. Okay, Mr. Jones. And looking at those emails, taking a look at them, you wouldn't agree with me that that man is a raving lunatic?
He seemed very credible and put together earlier on about, I can't remember the exact numbers, he seemed to get agitated about 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I think they call it deceptively jump cut. It was complete. I mean, your videos are worse, but
Sure.
I think you've reached a new level. But
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
That's Zero Hedge reporting on your questions. And when it says, in closing, Jones says, that's Zero Hedge reporting on what you said. And now, in some sort of inception, this is you reporting on
Can you make
Zero
it-
Hedge reporting on what you said.
can you make
Correct?
it bigger? I can't read that.
I cannot make that bigger, Mr. Jones, but I'm asking you.
May I
out there-
approach it,
You
Your
can
Honor?
approach it. And go ahead
I
and
mean,
approach it.
my eyes aren't bad, but my God, I can't even see any of this.
Okay, that's great. That's what I'm asking you, Mr. Jones. His. Do you see the word his?
Again,
Hey, in fact, you know what? Let's be fair to you about this. This is a long report, right? I mean, it's 5-6 pages. Let's let you read the whole thing, don't you think? That'd be fair?
Sure.
Okay, in fact, let's go off the record. We'll take a little break.
Well, I'm not
And
gonna-
You can sit there and read that. Does that sound good?
Well, I may need to take I think during the break I'm going to go to the bathroom and stuff.
Sure, you can go to the bathroom. I'm not going to stop you from that, Mr. Jones. I'm not. Your bodily functions are your own. Let's go ahead and go off the record. There was a massive pileup of bodies in this room. At this time, I did not know it was a bathroom, and I wondered how the suspect had the time to kill that many people and stack them in the corner of the room. Sergeant Cario stated he was an EMT or maybe a paramedic, and that he had to check to see if anyone in the pile may have survived. I agreed, as the bodies were stacked 2 and 3 high, and that some of the children at the bottom who were able to cram in first may have escaped bullets. He began to check for life signs, wounds, and attempt to find a pulse. The victims on the top of the pile redacted, and many of the bodies had injuries that were obviously fatal. It appeared as if the teachers in the room, immediately upon hearing gunshots, began to pack children into the bathroom. The children that were sitting on the floor of the bathroom were packed in like sardines. One little girl was sitting crouched in between the toilet seat in the back corner of the room. I thought she may have had the best chance for survival. As Sergeant Cario got to the last bodies, it was clear that no one had survived. You've never heard of Sergeant Cario, have you?
The tape was so edited, I don't even know what.
Okay, Mr. Jones. I told them the number of the victims and the nature of the wounds. I told Casavecchia, this will be the worst day of your life.
I wouldn't consciously do that.
Hearing that your murdered child received no medical attention, that's obviously distressing.
I mean, again, this over, how was it, 7 years ago?
You know this is the one day you were to come down here and testify about Sandy Hook.
Mm-hmm.
And are you going to tell me you haven't done anything to try to figure out what happened in those 7 years? Is that what you're saying? You walked in here totally unprepared? Just winging it today?
I don't know how to respond to that.
Do you have the respect enough for these parents in this lawsuit to actually go back and try to find out what happened?
And so you're asking me to do the impossible, to go back through a whole compendium and then give some quantifiable statement to you off 3-second edited videos. It's square pegs and round holes. Again, these are highly edited splice tapes. The audio's been altered. I don't even know what context this is in.
It's in the context of Sandy Hook death certificates are sealed, and you said that. What did you do to confirm it, Mr. Jones?
Objection is to form. It misstates the evidence. How much?
You don't have to do speaking objections, Mr. Barnes.
It's one of the worst depositions I've ever witnessed.
That's fine. You can make your objections.
That's fair enough.
Go make all the objections you want, but make them in accordance with the Texas rules, which you agreed to be bound with before you started this deposition.
Okay, fine.
Mr. Jones.
And that the records and the redacted police reports, I mean, this report you give me is almost all blacked out. This is what people were talking about. And so I can't accurately answer off of edited tapes. I've never seen anything like that. So I'm trying to answer your questions.
You ever try to order a death certificate? I want to talk to you about something you said about porta potties. You know what I'm talking about when I talk about porta potties, right? Porta potties showed up to Sandy Hook.
Porta potties? I don't remember.
You're not sure if you've seen this before.
No.
Okay. You'll see up at the top it has a timestamp, 12/14/12.
I can't say that. I don't know what we did over
Okay. Well, if InfoWars did do that, they would have come across this picture of porta potties showing up at 1:30 p.m., right? That's what that time is right there? Are you familiar with military time? Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's 1:30, right? Mm-hmm. Right, so that's not an hour after the shooting, is it, Mr. Jones?
It's pretty darn soon after.
Is it? Is it maybe more like 4 hours after? It certainly would have been reckless to say the porta potties arrived in an hour in 2017, wouldn't it, Mr. Jones?
Objection is to form.
That is an out-of-context clip. I can't even respond to something like that.
You said it, though, didn't you?
I don't know what it's in context to.
Is there a good context to that, Mr. Jones? That people's children who are dead, there's actually photos of them still alive? Can you give me the good context?
There's no way to respond to something that I don't know what it is.
It was widely reported during your divorce that your attorney said to the judge that you're playing a character, that you're a performance artist. So I want to ask you, I want to know, when you were making these claims about Sandy Hook, were you being a journalist or was this all performance art?
When I say things on air, I believe it. When I'm being a radio talk show host, that was my ex-wife trying to enter into evidence like 10 years ago, me in a Joker outfit, doing a satire piece about chemicals in the water, and she was trying to say that I was crazy and was really the Joker. And we said, no, when Jack Nicholson plays the Joker, Your Honor, he's not really the Joker, he's playing a part. And then the media ran with it, saying that I said that what I regularly do on air is entertainment. So it's very clear when I'm being serious on air, and it's very clear if I'm wearing a Gore mask, and reenacting Star Trek as a joke, that I'm not literally believing that Gore is a real lizard creature. And so I wore a lizard mask. They also tried to introduce that. And we explained that, no, Your Honor, the judge agreed. Yes, we understand satire versus reality. So, no, I believe what I say on air because I wear a journalist hat, punditry hat, satire hat, just reading news, just being a news reader. I mean, I do that as well. So I do a lot of things. Sure. I don't do this anymore because people can edit stuff.
There's been some tension between you and the parents after they started complaining about what you were doing, correct?
Objection is to form.
What's your basis on that one?
It would be
legal
great.
objection, not a speaking objection. A legal. What's your legal basis for that one?
Okay, well, explain the legal. It's time, date, context, definitions.
Those aren't legal objections, Mr. Barnes.
Yes, they are, because if the form of the objection is misleading or leading in the nature in which it defines...
I'm allowed to lead the witness. He's adverse to me.
You are, but if I don't give you context of time...
Okay, no, it's fine. It's not an objection. I understand. I don't need a basis.
Yes, it is. It's a basic objection. It's Learn 101 on how to ask questions. I mean, come on.
Okay.
It would be easier for you and for everybody if it was, here's the exact date.
Got a rule of evidence for me, maybe?
Oh, sure. It gives give specificity as to both date and time so the person can answer the question meaningfully. When you say...
So is that 403?
That could be, well, if we're going to...
That's not form. That's not, you don't have to object to that. It's preserved, Mr. Barnes. Over the years, there started to develop tension between you and the Sandy Hook parents after they started complaining about what you were doing. Correct?
No.
Okay, no tension. You will admit, I mean, you've done mocking imitations of Sandy Hook parents crying, correct?
No.
And then you've got parents laughing, going, and then they walk over to the camera and go, and not just one, but a bunch of parents doing this. Then we see footage of one of the reported fathers of the victims, Robbie Parker, doing classic acting training where he's laughing and joking, and they say, hey, we're live. And he goes, oh. And maybe that's real. I'm sure it is.
You were mocking the difficult emotional reactions of people who provably lost their children.
No, I was not mocking. I was showing what people were questioning. It was not to mock the parents. It was showing why people were questioning. It's you that is projecting mocking onto it. I was showing what he did.
When you did this stuff about the crying and your imitations, this was all in service of an argument that some of these parents were actors, right?
Objection as to form.
No, I covered the internet talking about how people look like actors. This is edited. I can't comment on it.
Okay. So let me understand this, Mr. Jones. Unless we play you a full 4-hour InfoWars clip, you just can't answer questions today, can you?
It's not a 4-hour clip. These were maybe minute-long clips.
Yeah.
Not 5-second, 2-second.
Well,
edited.
you've told your audience there, we've clearly got people where it's actors playing different parts of different people. So you were pretty certain, weren't you? If a person were to stake out those addresses, they could wait for Mr. Posner to come pick up his mail, couldn't they? True?
I mean, the guy's running an anti-free speech foundation.
And you're the one who outed him as doing that, right? There's nothing on the Honor Network website that said Mr. Posner was running it. You outed him.
I believe he was public about that.
Do you? You don't think that InfoWars is the first one to break that in an article? If hypothetically InfoWars went to some links to unmask a person who was running a charity that was trying to stop people from being abused and then disclose that to its audience with maps, that wouldn't be a good thing.
That's, from my memory, not what happens. I can't comment on hypotheticals.
Sure. So if I was to say to you, if somebody was to come along and strike your hand with a hammer, would it hurt? You can't answer that question.
Objection as to...
I'm not striking anybody with hammers.
If I asked you if I gave you a big bowl of chili, might it affect your memory? You can't answer that. That's hypothetical. Correct? You're just not going to answer those kind of questions. I'll take it. That's no. Let's move on.
I'll take it. That wasn't
I mean,
a question.
yeah, that's...
Is that a question?
Is it?
That's a comment. That's not a question. This is becoming one of the most harassing objects. This is for TV and for PR, not for a legitimate suit. That's what this is. That's all this is. You want to put it on TV. That's all. This is just a show, and it's a bad show at that. It's a show of how not to be a lawyer in deposition of a case show. I mean, if you want to be fair and you want to ask real questions, go ahead. But don't make comments and then try to reinterpret those comments as a question and then try to put words in the mouth of the witness. I mean, first-year law student should know that.
What was your objection?
The objection was to your comment saying that there was an answer, and my point was you didn't ask a question,
Okay.
so there couldn't have been an answer, and I was objecting for the record purposes that no answer had been given to a question that had not been asked.
Do you maybe want to take a break so we can have a few breaths?
Yes, maybe
You
so.
can, yeah, you might need to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe you can go back and read how to ask people questions.
I have no idea what that 3-second clip was.
You sent this man, a cage fighter, to go badger and yell obscenities at Sandy Hook residents, right?
No.
No?
No.
You know who that is, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's Mr. Badandi.
Yes.
That's what we saw in the video, Mr. Jones, correct?
I didn't quite hear all of it.
Okay. Correct?
I mean, if people have been coached to put up certain political anti-gun statements, I have a right to say that they're putting out political talking points.
And then there's a title card that says InfoWars, you are the resistance. The you in you are the resistance, that's your audience, correct? Am I part of the resistance?
Well, for the Democrats.
Did I...
Well, that's a Democrat tagline they took from me, you are the resistance.
Okay.
You're not a Democrat?
I don't know why you would, where you're getting that from.
I'm just saying, the Democrats use that.
Okay. These people are so crazy that you had to realize at some point that what they're saying isn't true and that Sandy Hook wasn't fake. I want to play you a clip on April 20th, 2018.
I'm not going to be Sandy Hook man and then take what everybody else did as if what people said and done is all me, and then I'm kind of like the sin eater and it's all put on me when that's not my identity. I mean, this idea, I know they have shows like Homeland and things where supposedly Alex Jones, and then he does all these things. That's not a real person. That's an actor. And then kind of the media fantasizes that they're fighting, this big boogeyman that's on Homeland, and that's not who I am.
Remember what my question was? What was my question?
I just answered your question. Answer your question again. There's no yes or no answer to something like that.
Well, you don't even know what the question was because you were just talking. You're just ranting like you do on your show, right?
No, I was being honest with you about the situation.
All right, well, let's walk through it, Mr. Jones. We know you started making videos calling it fake in 2013, right? No doubt there,
Objection is to form.
right?
I can't comment on edited videos you've got.
I'm not asking you about edited videos, Mr. Jones. I'm asking you, in 2013, you made videos calling it fake.
I think asking you it was fake, yes.
You weren't asking, you were saying it was fake, and the evidence is overwhelming, right?
We have a right in this country to question things.
So I'm not saying what you didn't and didn't have a right to do. I'm just asking you what you did. You made videos in 2013 saying it was fake, right?
I think I remember making the statements that it looks fake to me, but we're not 100%.
Okay, and then in 2014, 2015, you were making videos calling it synthetic, completely fake, manufactured, phony as a $3 bill. That was happening all through 2014, 2015, right? I have no idea what you're talking about, but it's not important. What I'm asking you is about Anderson Cooper.
Well, I don't want to call people crazy and get sued by somebody else.
And after you were sued, you said there was a police stand down in Sandy Hook. You said that after?
I said that about Parkland too. I think there was a very slow response on both.
Now, if you're a parent, just imagine me for a moment, that you lost one of your children. One of your children was murdered, and you think you know who did it. And there's been a justice system that worked out that said this is who did it. And then someone who thinks that they have information comes to you and says, Mr. Jones, the person who killed your son, the information about him is being covered up. There's a government conspiracy. They're manipulating. There's a police stand down. Those things would be upsetting to you, wouldn't they?
I think the whole thing's upsetting and everybody's upset by it.
Can you now admit that you've done an outrageous wrong to these parents? Can you admit that?
The mainstream media is who always takes it, makes it a huge issue, and then says that I'm saying it and gets me to respond. And it's lawyers like you and people that glom onto this for fame that then try to get the fame and then say that I'm the person that's promoting it. And it's obscene, in my view.
So that's no.
No, I genuinely questioned, and I think the government and media that's been caught lying so much has created an atmosphere where people don't know what's true.
So you do not believe that you've done an outrageous wrong to these parents?
I've not done an outrageous wrong to the parents.
Okay. You've repeatedly said the 9/11 attacks were orchestrated by the government, right?
I believe criminal elements of our government were involved in 9/11.
Regarding Columbine, you said Columbine we know was a false flag. I'd say 100% false flag, a globalist operation.
And by false flag, they knew it was coming, they let it happen.
The Oklahoma City bombing, you said, was a false flag. We've never had one so open and shut.
100%. I can name the names.
And that Tim McVeigh is an innocent patsy.
He was set up. Yeah.
Okay. Hours after James Holmes shot up the Aurora movie theater, you said that was 100% a false flag mind control event.
He told the jailers that. Okay. He was in a DARPA mind control program like Theodore Kaczynski, the Unabomber.
Okay. The shooting of Gabrielle Giffords, you called a staged mind control operation.
Yeah, well, I talked to the FBI hostage rescue team on the thing in Las Vegas.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Pizzagate. First, let's start off. Pizzagate is the allegation that there was a pedophile sex dungeon in a Washington, D.C. pizzeria with connections to Hillary Clinton and the DNC, right? That's what Pizzagate is.
Does that mean they ask it again?
You can answer, Mr. Jones. That's what Pizzagate is.
Say it again.
Pizzagate is the allegation that there was a pedophile sex dungeon being operated out of the basement of a pizzeria in Washington, D.C. with connections to Hillary Clinton and the DNC.
Nope.
Okay, tell me what Pizzagate was.
Pizzagate came out of the John Podesta emails, head of Hillary's campaign, talking about Aleister Crowley rituals. And then the media diverted onto 4chan and covered a pizza place that the DNC went to and that was going on, and created the disinfo about these dungeons and basements and everything to then distract onto that away from the serious stuff and the FBI manual that they use. Things like cheese pizza means child pornography, and those are code words used for pedophilia. And so that was basically a diversion story, kind of a Karl Rove type trick, where we've got a big story, but you slip disinfo into it, so then everybody then covers that.
You told your audience something's going on in that pizzeria.
I mean, I did point out there was a lot of really bizarre art, and that Tony Podesta did not hide the fact in the Washington Post 2007 in a big write about his deviant art, that he likes art that most people would be arrested for. I don't know if you're looking for clips to put out on the news of me saying something about that, but I'm just not.
Well, what I'm really getting at, Mr. Jones, is that after you told people to go investigate it, somebody did and then opened fire there, right? That happened.
No, that there's no evidence that person did that from any directives I gave him.
Okay. You also just recently apologized for false reporting on the murder of DNC staffer Seth Rich.
That was on reporting of another reporter.
Some of your reporting on Sandy Hook involved a anonymous website known as Zero Hedge. You know what Zero Hedge is?
Yes.
Okay.
Technically, that is a technical term for the scope. You're right, Colin Powell, the anthrax was real. You're right, nothing staged.
There was a lot of reporting during the Gulf War. A lot of people doing really hard work to uncover the fact that those aluminum tubes were total bunk. That wasn't WMDs, right?
Yeah, Judith Miller, was it wrong for people to question that?
Absolutely. There was a lot of people questioning that. They did some really good reporting. They found out, for instance, that some of the allegations of torture in Kuwait were total bunk. It was total propaganda. Some good journalists found that out.
The babies in the incubators?
I think that's some of it, isn't it? That's not just the babies in the incubators, though. There was a lot of false things being told to the American public to get them to go to war, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And a lot of reporters did a really good work doing it and finding out what those things were. So those good journalists did good work uncovering those facts. But your work on the blue screen allegation in the Gulf War, that wasn't good journalism, was it, Mr. Jones?
No, they admit they did blue screen shots from Atlanta and a whole bunch of places.
That's what you're doubling down. You're saying that that's a fact.
I'm saying you're mixing things together, so I can't say anything any further.
Okay. Actually, I want to go back to something you said earlier, which is that you have CIA sources who told you that something's up at Vegas. Something funny's going on at Vegas. Who? You've signed non-disclosures? Mm-hmm. With who?
Can't talk about it.
Okay. What about? What's the general topic that you can't disclose?
I can't talk about it.
Okay, so apparently there is some non-disclosure agreement that you signed with some unnamed person that is relevant to the allegations that you were making about Vegas?
Yes.
Okay, and you can't, for reasons of that non-disclosure, you can't disclose anything about that today?
No, I can't.
Okay. Was that a government person that you did a non-disclosure with? Was it a real person or an imaginary person?
Oh, it's real.
It's a real person, so there is a contract. If we needed it, we could get it. Do you
I
own a copy?
already told you it exists.
Do you own a copy?
We have a copy of that, don't we?
Well, he's just asking whether you.
Yes, we have a copy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jones.
More and more, I try to not even report on whatever the big thing on 4chan or any of these sites are talking about. In fact, I directly stay away from it now.
4chan. Let's pick that one up first.
Yes.
That's sort of what I'm looking at. That's an anonymous image board, right?
Yes.
The posters there assigned a random number.
Yes.
InfoWars has frequently used 4chan as a source.
We've reported on things being reported at 4chan.
As a source, right? That's what a source is, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, somebody emailing you could say technically is a source.
Sure.
Even if you never even open it.
Any piece of information that you're going to report secondhand is a source, right?
Yes.
There's a source of that information.
Yeah, like somebody draws on the bathroom wall could be a source. I mean, what specifically?
Mr. Jones, you understand Neil Heslin sued you? Do you understand that?
Well, you're asking me about a specific broadcast. I'm saying what broadcast?
Right. I'm asking you, do you understand Neil Heslin sued you?
Yes.
Okay. Are you telling me that you don't know, sitting here right now, what broadcast he sued you for?
I mean, I'm asking you to give me the specifics, like, so you can get me to comment.
No, I'm asking you right now. That's what I want to know a question to. Do you even know what Mr. Heslin sued you for?
Objection is to this being outside the scope. This is
He's an individual.
This
There's
is
no-
Scarlett Lewis, right?
Right, there's no 30B6 notice here. He has no scope.
Sure there is.
If he has personal knowledge, he can answer. Are you instructing him not to answer?
This is
Okay.
an objection. on
Okay,
scope
then
grounds.
you can go ahead and answer, Mr.
Well, don't
Jones.
tell him there's no scope, Mark. He
I don't
wasn't
know
at
what the
hearing.
scope is. I have no idea what the scope is, what you mean. Is there something in the order that you think there's a scope? I don't see a scope.
The court said you were allowed to ask things consistent with your RFPs.
Yeah, whether Mr. Heslin was defamed is relevant to my case. You know that. The document requests are all about Mr. Heslin. Don't even start this with me. This
Mr.
is.
Bankston, may I finish, please?
I would rather you not, because you're not defending this deposition, Mr. Enoch. I've had an extraordinary amount of patience with you speaking during this deposition, but we're not going to do this to you when we defend
Do not
depositions.
misrepresent to this lawyer that the judge did not restrict the scope to the limited to the RFPs. Do you agree that he limited to that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Not to an RFP. No, I don't think so.
You don't
I don't
think
think
he
the
said
scope of
anything about the scope?
no, Mr. Enoch, I don't think the scope of written discovery on request for production was identical to the scope of deposition. And many, many times, Mr. Enoch, the judge said, no, you can't ask that question for a request for production, but you can just ask it in deposition. So no, I don't agree with you at all, and I would appreciate it if you kept quiet the remainder of the deposition. You are not defending this deposition.
Mr. Bankston, I will speak if it's appropriate for you to speak.
It is not appropriate for you to
Please don't
speak,
interrupt me,
Mr.
That's not occurring.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to leave my deposition. Go off the record for a second. I want you to
I did
leave.
not agree to go off the record.
All right, don't go off the record. Mr. Enoch, I'm asking you to leave my deposition. You are being obstructive. You are talking. You are not appearing at this deposition. You are not defending it. If you do not agree to be quiet, I'm asking you to leave the deposition. Are you going to stay and be quiet, or am I going to have to ask you to leave?
Mr. Bankston, I am not leaving the deposition.
Then you're going to stay quiet.
Would you like to continue your deposition?
I am, and if you leave again, if you keep speaking, I guarantee you I will seek sanctions against you, Mr. Enoch. Mr. Jones, have you ever taken money from InfoWars LLC?
Objection, instruction is to privacy unless it's Sandy Hook specific or relevant, would instruct the witness not to answer consistent with the constitutional right to privacy protected under both the Texas Constitution and the United States.
Okay, we'll take that up another day, I guess. Wow.
I mean, I can go through the cases if you want me to.
I mean, I don't at all, Mr. Burns. InfoWars LLC, has it ever had any money?
Objection, same instruction to the witness not to answer on grounds of privacy.
What is InfoWars LLC?
I don't believe it's even an operating company.
So it's your allegation it's not an active corporation by the Secretary of State?
You know, I'm not the expert on this, so I probably shouldn't answer it. So I don't want to state it wrong, but
You made InfoWars LLC. You created it.
you know, I'm not one of the lawyers. So I don't want to answer it wrong.
Nobody else is involved. It's nobody else's company, right?
Objection, instruct the witness not to answer on grounds of privacy that could also implicate the privacy of third parties.
Okay. InfoWars LLC. What does it do? What has it ever done as a business?
I don't know.
Okay. You have any job duties at InfoWars LLC?
I mean, as you heard, I'm not going to get into structure of things, and plus, I'm not a CPA or a lawyer. I don't want to say it wrong.
Okay. Have you ever had job duties at InfoWars LLC? In the past?
I don't want to say. I mean, I think I'm the only. You know, I'm the sole person.
Has InfoWars LLC ever had an office?
I really don't understand. I don't know what you're getting at.
You know what an office is?
No, but I don't understand. Like asking if a corporation has an office. Mm-hmm. The company that has offices is Free Speech Systems.
Well, so if I were to ask you, does Free Speech Systems have an office? Answer is yes. Free Speech
I
Systems
think
has an
that,
office.
yeah, that's what's on the letterhead. Yeah, that's what the.
Okay, let's try it again with InfoWars. Does InfoWars LLC have an office?
You know, I don't want to inaccurately answer that, so I can't.
Okay. Who would be the person at InfoWars LLC who could answer that?
You know, Those corporations got set up a long time ago, and I'm not sure you'd ask those questions.
Okay. Now, when it comes to Free Speech Systems, LLC, you're the boss. There's nobody with more power at Free Speech Systems, LLC than you.
I make all the major decisions. The buck stops with me.
You make final call on anything that goes to air.
I mean, I don't sit there and watch over everything. I try to have good people that are smart and are trying to tell the truth.
But I mean, you have the authority. If something's going to air and you find out and you don't want it on air, you can stop it.
Yes, I told you the buck stops with me.
Okay.
Can I have a water, please? Thanks. Sure. Is it okay to break for 10 minutes and eat?
Yeah, you know what? This is not a bad spot. We're at 3:30 right
Thanks.
now.
I can eat 10 minutes.
10 and 15 is fine. I mean, really, if we can come back here by 3:50, I can get us out of here before 5.
Awesome.
When was the last time you did anything for InfoWars LLC?
I can't accurately answer that.
Was that InfoWars LLC in the news business?
I don't think I can accurately answer that.
We've talked a lot about Free Speech Systems employees today, like Mr. Dew. Mr. Dew ever do anything for InfoWars LLC?
InfoWars LLC is a real corporation. It's inactive, and it was set up something to do with like intellectual properties or something like 10 years ago. And I was just trying to like have a basic corporate structure. It's pretty standard, I'm told, but I'm not a lawyer, and so. But I mean, it's filed with the state. It's up to date. It's just not. I think the things we were going to do with it, we never did fully. I think that's. But I'm not a lawyer. But that's the best. That's the best of my understanding of that.
Object is non-responsive. I asked you if Mr. Dew had ever done anything for InfoWars LLC. Is that yes or no?
I don't believe so.
Okay. What about, help me with this name, Tim Fruge?
Fruge.
Tim Fruge do anything for InfoWars LLC?
No.
InfoWars LLC have anything to do with the InfoWars website?
I don't want to state it wrong, but I think so. Yeah, I think that's the whole point. Is that different things in a different company.
Okay. Let me just ask you really quick, going back to this non-disclosure agreement that we discussed earlier, that you can't tell me about the identity or the subject matter. Okay. I do want to know, what did you agree to do?
I can't get into the specifics of the non-disclosure agreement. You were asking sources on Vegas, and we had particularly good ones on that.
Okay. But in terms of your legal obligations, that's also something you're not prepared to talk about today?
Yes, I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement before I was allowed to see something.
Okay. What did you do to vet him? How did you assess his credibility?
We looked him up, and he'd been on national television as an expert, and he'd been in the state police, and then he'd been head of security at a school, and then at first, a lot of what he said sounded he was more credible, and I think he genuinely believed what he was saying, and he had that professor coming out from Florida, I forget his name, just a bunch of other people.
So what I think I'm hearing from you is he's been on TV. He was
he was a state police officer, and then he was a head of school security at a school, and then he was nationally recognized, at least according to the big national shows I saw. I guess they're big mainstream. They must have vetted it. He was just really a big credible guy.
So are you saying that he had a resume of such that you did not feel the need to fact check or corroborate his allegations? Okay, Mr. Jones.
I don't remember some things I talked about 2 weeks ago on my show.
Guess so you don't remember him almost getting in a brawl with a fireman at a firehouse in Newtown?
No.
Here's my question, Mr. Jones. How in the world would you know how much you've covered Sandy Hook, 1/10 of 10%, when we, the plaintiffs, have asked you to produce us every video that has Sandy Hook in the title, and you can't even do that? You haven't produced those two.
Every video from where?
From you.
Oh, no. From after you and other law firms lobbied to have us taken off the internet, which had the index of it on YouTube and other platforms, like Roku. Oh, he's doing it right now. Get it off right now. He's coming after the kids right now. Knowing full well that's not going on. You're lobbying against the First Amendment, and you are then at the same time trying to take down all of what I really said, so you can then edit things together, and that's the only record. And we went and looked. There's maybe 20 shows, maybe another probably 50 times callers calling about that we know of. I'm sure there's more we don't know about, but then we added all that together with a calculator And we looked at the number, and it's literally not even maybe 1/10% of all the airtime we've done is Sandy Hook. We don't take our stuff down unless Twitter, because the lawyers on your side complain and say, he's doing this, take it down, and then Twitter doesn't take your stuff down. They order you to. Okay? But that's the same thing as taking it down.
And when that happened, Mr. Dew, when he tried to preserve that, when he deleted that stuff.
No, we had it preserved when we did it.
Yeah, but he said in his affidavit he lost user comments, didn't he?
Those are us. Twitter's us, not user comments.
No, I know. There's user comments on your Twitter threads, and they were lost when you deleted them, weren't you?
You guys are the ones lobbying to have me taken off the internet.
I don't care about any of that, Mr. Jones. I'm asking you, were those deleted? Those comments are lost. They will never be recovered, and Mr. Dew admits it.
Sandy Hook lobbied to have my Twitter taken down. The whole thing was taken down.
I know, and you didn't do anything to preserve it before that happened, did you?
Oh, so you get it taken down, and then it's my fault. I get that.
No, I'm asking you, when did you reasonably anticipated litigation the moment you were sued, right? When you were sued on April of 2018, you knew that all of that information was relevant, right?
Well,
Objection calls as to form, also objection to the degree any of the questions are asking about attorney-client communications, then you're instructed not to answer to disclose any information that comes from attorney-client communication.
Let me ask it a different way, Mr.
we sent letters to Twitter and to Google before requesting that they not take us down and that they save it. And when they did, we said, please turn it back on or give us the full records.
Let me make it very clear. After you were sued, the information existed, it was available to you, and then later it was deleted and those comments are gone. That's true?
Objection.
By Twitter. Twitter took the account down.
Right. I understand that. So before Twitter took that account down, you took no efforts to preserve any of that information.
Yes, we did. It's also, I think all that stuff's saved on their sites too.
Okay.
Full services that copy it. And what you're saying is not true.
And Mr. Dew admits that in his affidavit. InfoWars didn't save that in its local cache.
I'm not an IT person. I can't accurately answer all that.
Okay, so in terms of whether InfoWars failed to preserve evidence that might be relevant to this claim, you're not the right person to ask.
I mean, I think despite the coordinated effort by the media and the university's establishment to take all our content offline, we've done a pretty good job of saving almost all of it at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. So I really, that's just not an accurate statement.
But you can't even search it by title. You have no idea how many videos have Sandy Hook in the title. Or
I don't
does
think
YouTube
you
give you the title?
I don't think you understand. I don't know the specifics of what you're talking about, so I don't want to state something incorrectly.
Okay, so anybody you see in camo pants when you're walking down the street, you're like, that guy's paramilitary.
I really have, I've told you what my memory is.
Is it fair to describe any gentleman wearing camo pants as being dressed in SWAT gear?
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to describe it.
Oh, so you what I'm trying to get at, Mr. Jones, is you don't think saying that a man who's dressed up in SWAT gear fine behind the school when he's not actually wearing any SWAT gear is in any way alarmist or dangerous to say?
And I'm very sad for folks, who have had to go through it. And I'm sorry for tragedies, and I kind of feel sorry for you having to live through it all the time and knowing every detail and every angle and everything else. But I just,
it's hard. Mr. Jones, what we were just talking about, men being arrested in SWAT gear in the woods.
I don't think I said men, but if I said that, I misspoke.
Okay. Well, even if you said man in SWAT gear in the woods, you said that just a year before you were sued. That's not 7 years ago, is it?
But I've seen the very same corporate media and lawyers continue to say that I'm saying all these things and exaggerating and using it against the First Amendment. I think that's very dangerous and despicable.
Mr. Jones, do you think I'm a corporate lawyer?
Well, I know full well that when Hillary Clinton lost the election is when all this started. And I'm like, hey, I think Sandy Hook happened, and you and others continually are in the news. I know when you first did this lawsuit, you're like, all Jones needs to do is say sorry, or some parents that, and I'm like, I am sorry that this is all been out of context, and I believe your kids died. And that was all ignored. So I've seen the real disingenuousness and the fact this is all just cold-blooded, fit because Hillary lost the election.
So do you think I work for Hillary Clinton or something? Or George Soros gives me money or something like that?
Well, I mean, I know this. Is when Hillary lost, a light switch went on. I've never been sued, and I got sued a bunch. And then you've got all the corporate media working in tandem. And I know you're working with a Connecticut case and doing all that and triangulating all that stuff. So, I mean, let's not, and there's going to be some other things coming down the road where all that will come out.
Okay, Mr. Jones. You and your attorney have appeared on your show to talk about this entire lawsuit being a conspiracy against you to take you down.
It's a conspiracy, as Clarence Thomas admits, to get rid of New York Times versus Sullivan.
And you've called me and members of my law firm devil people.
I don't think
Correct?
specifically, no.
You've made money from every single one of these broadcasts we saw today, right?
No, we actually lose money on really controversial stuff. We can actually see it.
In these news broadcasts, you advertise the sale of supplements, right?
The two don't go together.
How do you mean they don't go together? You're talking about the news and you put the news down and all of a sudden you're talking about bone broth and male vitality and fluoride-free toothpaste and everything else.
So
And then
they're talking
you put
about
that back up and
WMDs.
hold on, Mr. Jones. And then you pick that back down and you pick up the news and you start talking about it in the same video, correct?
Well, it's like saying the Super Bowl goes to, and the Super Bowl has Budweiser ads on the walls.
Yeah, NBC makes money off of its broadcasting, doesn't it?
But technically that's not how, our advertising is separate from what is going on during the program. We don't do product placement. And so no, the answer is Sandy Hook, before I was ever sued, lost money. 9/11 Truth lost me almost all my radio stations and lost money. Those type of really controversial stands, people don't like them, and they have crippled us before these lawsuits. And I mean, in fact, we went back and you can see where we talk about Sandy Hook and the listeners, everything goes down.
I mean, and really, if we look at this at the end of the day, I mean, really, you're the victim, aren't you?
No, but I've certainly learned a lot in the process.
You've learned how to not be a reckless journalist, right?
Well, I think certainly I've experienced real fake news, watching the corporate media lie in my name and put things out that I never did in a concerted effort. I had 120-something stations, went down to about 30. A lot of stations dumped us when we were talking about Sandy Hook. So if the statement is, I say these things and do these things to make money, that is not what we are doing. Money coming in is to fund the operation, to promote really questioning things, and to build an alternative system. And it doesn't mean then when you're being an alternative system that you're perfect. But that's basically where I stand on that.
Okay, I just do want to make sure it's not a non-profit situation. You're not doing this for the charity of your own heart.
No, I'm not like the nonprofits. The whole conspiracy where they're buying the college admissions and they call that a charity, or Hillary's foundation. No, I'm not running anything like that.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Mr. Jones.
Where all these people make billions of dollars on their tax-free charities. No, I don't do that.
Okay, so
You were asking me if I was running a nonprofit scam, and the answer is no, I don't do those. I pay taxes.
I won't even mess with that. You would agree with me that when some damage happens, when you break something, when you cause something to be lost, when you hurt somebody, whether it's intentional or whether it's a mistake, there's consequences for that, right? People should be accountable for the people they hurt.
Well, sometimes people claim they've been hurt and they haven't been. So you have to look at the agenda behind things. You have to balance things. And I myself have, almost had like a form of psychosis back in the past where I basically thought everything was staged. And so I think it's part of that process of me growing up in Rockwall, Texas, and watching the police steal drugs and then conduct anti-drug programs at the school. I think that shook my opinion of police in general. And I was very anti-law enforcement until I grew up and learned more things, and now I'm pretty much pro-police. So it's been a process.
Mr. Jones, are you finally prepared to admit that you have indeed caused these families a substantial amount of pain? Are you prepared to admit that?
I am not prepared to sign on to whatever you and the mainstream media make up about me.
All right, Mr. Jones, that'll have to be it. I'll see you next time.
Mr. Jones, we doing that thing where you don't respond?
Well, objection, you just Mr. Jones. Is there...
Yeah, I was trying to see if the witness would acknowledge, like, hey, good morning, how you doing? Anyway, whatever. It's true that on November 7th, your company produced to me 42 videos of Sandy Hook in the title?
Is there somewhere I read that?
No, I'm just asking you.
I don't know. But I know they got videos together and gave them to you. I believe, yeah.
Okay, well, when you certified this is correct, were you certifying that that was the production of all videos in InfoWars possession that discussed or relate to Sandy Hook?
I mean, I believe so.
It's true that after I sent a letter saying that that's not true, that those weren't all the videos, that on November 14th, you produced an additional 12 videos to me. Isn't that correct?
I don't remember. I mean, I just said give them all the videos.
You did nothing to verify that those were actually all the videos?
I didn't really know how to pull those videos up. I don't understand all those computers, that type of stuff.
Well, what I'm saying, Mr. Jones, is you signed an affidavit verifying these answers and that these were the responses of Free Speech System. Are you telling me you didn't have anything to do with that?
I relied on my attorneys and my crew. I said give them all the videos.
Okay.
I guess in the previous 3 lawsuits by you, but I just say comply with it. I'm not doing that. I don't know.
And when you produced today, as I walked into this deposition room, a USB drive, how many videos are on that USB drive?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to be technical, it's possible there could be something somewhere. But to the best of my knowledge, we have given you what you requested.
Let's not be technical about it. Let's be really accurate about it. Which is to say, if you wanted to find out if there were videos talking about Sandy Hook, how would you do that?
We would have to do what we did and search for things that don't have any of those names in it. Because I started digging deeper into it, and I said, I remember a video or two, and so we took hours digging around and then found it under another name, and then produced it to you.
Digging around in what?
I don't understand. It's searching in the computer.
What are you searching on the computer? Video files? Are you searching
Yes.
transcripts?
Everything, trying to find stuff.
Do you have transcripts of your InfoWars videos?
No.
Okay, so you're not searching transcripts. You're searching videos, right?
Well, you search words too, because that's what the names are. But yeah,
Okay, and so are you searching the titles?
yes.
Okay, you searching anything else?
No, it goes on titles.
Okay, so if Sandy Hook isn't in the title, it's not in there.
No, that's how we were able to find it. It didn't have anything really related to that. But I said I remember this video, so we went and dug through again, and were able to. I forget the exact search term, but it was different.
Okay, so there is a video that doesn't have Sandy Hook in the title that you asked to be produced.
It was late last night. It was a couple of them. I believe what we produced them.
You don't know what you did last night. How many videos there were?
I don't remember the exact number. I think it was a couple. It depends. A lot of the live show was only archived on YouTube, and so then that was taken down.
Okay. And between April 4th, when you were given first notice that these lawsuits might be filed, and when your YouTube account was taken down later that summer, you took no efforts to save all those videos.
There was over 30,000 videos. No, we didn't save those videos, most of them.
Okay. So most of those videos you allowed to be lost when that happened.
No, I didn't take the YouTube channel down.
Right. I know. I understand that. But before your YouTube channel was taken down, but after you were sued, you took no steps to preserve any of those videos.
We did save the videos that we had on our servers. No, those videos were duplicated on other people's channels. I've seen what you guys have. You have basically everything we ever talked about that.
Am I asking you if we have basically everything, or am I asking you if we have everything?
I don't know if you have everything.
Okay. You don't know if I have everything,
I
correct?
I'm not sure what these numbers mean, but I guess that means 327.
It's your answer, Mr. Jones. Why don't you tell me what it means?
I guess that means 327.
You guessed that it means that. You swore to it, but you guessed that that's what that is.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I went off what I believe was best through my counsel.
Okay, again, that answer is not based on your personal knowledge. You're just trusting other people.
Well, you have to trust your lawyer because I don't have a law degree. I believe that means 327. It just has zeros in front of it.
Have you ever looked at that?
Yes,
Before
I read this.
Before you signed this affidavit, swearing that this answer was correct, did you look at page 1 through 327?
I remember it was there. Yes.
Okay, so when you swore to this answer, you understood that 1 through 327 was InfoWars articles you were
To
producing.
the best of my knowledge, yes.
All right. Identify every method by which employees or agents of Free Speech Systems, LLC have communicated messages to other employees, agents, or sources concerning the subject matter of this lawsuit, including the name of any electronic application, program, or service used in such communications. I read that correctly?
Yes.
All right. If you flip the page onto page 4, is via email, telephone, or verbally. I read that correctly?
Yes.
That answer's not true, is it? That's false testimony, right?
Which one?
I'm talking about on page 4, your answer at the very top of page 4. That answer is not accurate. That is false testimony.
That's how we communicate.
You're saying, you're going to testify here under oath, you've never received a text message relating to Sandy Hook?
No, I searched my phone. There was nothing in it.
Wait, let's back up and make sure we understand this correctly. First, you're testifying that what you're saying right now is you searched your phone.
Yeah, there was nothing in there. I remember doing it, yeah.
Okay. First, let's go back to the original question. Regardless of what's in your phone right now, are you saying you've never received text messages relating to Sandy Hook?
No, not that I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you could search to the top. I've never talked about it.
Okay. I've seen in court filings that you frequently destroy your cell phone. Is that true?
No, I've gotten new cell phones.
Okay, so if it was said in a court filing you frequently destroy your cell phones, that's not accurate. That wasn't true.
Whole of destroy, you mean like it gets in the lake or whatever? I've lost them.
No, I mean intentionally destroy. You haven't never done that?
I guess I did get mad a couple years ago and throw one or something against the wall. So I guess that is true. I have destroyed a cell phone before.
Okay. When was the last time that you either destroyed or replaced a cell phone?
I don't know, like 3 or 4 months ago, I got a new cell phone.
3 or 4 months ago?
But it has the same SIM card, so it's the same deal.
So you have, how far back do you have text messages?
I don't know.
Objection form.
I don't know.
So you're saying you never received text messages relating to Sandy Hook. Is your testimony the same that you've never sent a text message relating to Sandy Hook?
I mean, I've like said to talk to a lawyer, like meeting about it or something. But I don't sit there and talk about Sandy Hook. It's not my identity.
So your testimony is you've never sent a text message relating to Sandy Hook to a fellow employee or a source or somebody outside the company?
No, other than, I mean, I think I've talked about meetings with lawyers about it, and that's it.
You're also saying you've never sent messages over any kind of internal messaging application to a member of your staff about Sandy Hook?
I don't know of any other systems.
You mean are you saying you don't know what an internal messaging system is, or InfoWars doesn't have any?
I don't know of any internal messaging systems other than like a calendar.
Do you know what Yahoo Instant Messenger is?
Yes, I haven't used that in over 10 years.
Do you know what Slack is?
I've heard of it.
Okay. Both of those are things used inside InfoWars, right?
No, I mean, I haven't used, God, it's probably longer than 10 years since Yahoo Messenger. I mean, we used to use that a long time ago, more than 10 years ago.
What do your staff use to send messages to each other in terms of internal applications? Do they use Slack?
I don't know. I've heard that name.
Wait, hold on, let's back up here. When you say you don't know if they use Slack, when you had to answer this question about what methods of communication were used by members of your staff among each other and with sources, what exactly did you do to find that out?
The only communications with Sandy Hook are like email and verbal and some guests on the show.
That's not what I asked you, Mr. Jones. What did you do to find out what methods of communication your staff used?
I've heard of a bunch of other names too.
Let's just make sure we have this really clear. When that question asked you to identify all methods of communication, including any applications, messaging programs, etc., you didn't make any steps to find out if there were messaging programs. You didn't do that. That's not true, though, is it? This answer is just not true.
I don't know that's the case.
Okay, so you don't know whether your communications have ever been by Slack or text messages among your employees. You have no idea.
No, we checked the text messages. There's no Sandy Hook.
Whose text messages did you check?
I remember giving my phone to Zimmerman and to the other people and them going around and checking.
That means you checked your text messages, correct?
I checked it myself, and then Zimmerman did some type of more intense thing.
Did more intense thing with what?
With my telephone.
With your text messages,
Yes.
correct? Okay. What about your employees?
I told them to go through it, and that's what they said they did.
Okay, so you're, in terms of trying to find out if there were responsive text messages from your employees to each other, you left it entirely up to your staff to go find those and know if there were any that existed.
Yes, I told them to do that.
Okay, and so potentially the employees who are implicated in some of the conduct that's alleged in this petition, they were the ones who were responsible for finding out if there were any text messages.
No, it was the IT guy who went and did it.
Wait, so your IT person went and searched all your employees' text messages?
They talked to the lawyer and followed this.
That's not what I'm asking you, Mr. Jones. I'm asking you, did your IT person search your employees' text messages, or did your employees search their own text messages?
I know Zimmerman searched mine. I don't know.
Okay. So when you answered this question about what methods have they communicated, you don't know if your employees have texted each other about Sandy Hook. You have no idea.
No, I was told there was nothing there. No, I remember them checking in. I mean, they said there's no text messages.
Okay. Let's make sure we have this clear on the record because you've given a couple different answers. You were saying that all of your employees' text messages have been checked for Sandy Hook material.
I believe that that was being handled by the lawyer and by Zimmerman, and I believe whatever was found was turned over. If anything, I don't know.
Okay. Was anything turned over?
I don't know.
And what I'm interested in is if you go to page 4 and it bleeds on to page 5, is the answer that I'm interested in.
No, I mean, if somebody was messing up a lot as well, would they have issues?
All right, so there'd be other reasons you might take disciplinary action in addition to it being knowingly published, right?
Sure, like people not being lazy or something. There's a lot of things.
Sure. So people have been careless in the past and let false information get to air before, haven't they?
We've taken corrective measures, talked to people.
Okay, so when it says here, you've never had any reason to take disciplinary action against any employee, that's not true.
Objection form.
Not for journalistic reasons.
Not for journalistic reasons, did you say? So you've taken discipline with people that had nothing to do with the reporting of the news.
Yes.
Okay. But in terms of things that have happened at InfoWars with reporting of the news, nobody's ever been disciplined for anything that's happened at InfoWars.
Not for knowingly putting out false information.
It's not what I'm asking, Mr. Jones. We had just talked that there are other situations besides putting out knowingly false information. When people are reckless, careless, they make a mistake they shouldn't have made, they're incompetent, they're lazy, and as a result, false information gets published. Has somebody ever been disciplined for that?
Objection form.
Was that a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't understand the question.
Okay.
Not under your definition of reckless.
What's your definition of reckless?
Not what we're doing.
I'm not sure what that means. What do you mean? What does reckless mean to you?
I mean, reckless would just be with no regard.
Okay. What if somebody is careless? Is that different than reckless to you, or is that the same thing?
No, I mean, I think careless is a form of recklessness.
Okay. Somebody does that at InfoWars. Do they get punished?
Yes.
Okay. Has that ever happened?
I'd have to refresh my memory. I don't know about between those dates. It just all kind of blurs together. Couldn't give you an accurate answer.
Did you go and try to find out? You say nobody at InfoWars has ever breached journalistic ethics, correct?
We're mainly punditry and opinion. Journalism is a very small part of what we do. I can't respond to hypotheticals.
Okay, so if somebody was to come to you before a show and say, Mr. Jones, I want to say this on today's show, you can go, well, that's hypothetical. I can't tell you whether you can or cannot say that.
That's hypothetical as well.
Okay. So basically anybody can say anything they want to on your show. They don't need to get prior permission from you.
It is a call-in show that there is no prior constraint on the callers and on many of the guests, like a Jeffrey Epstein thing. Like people don't believe that he killed himself, and would people be sued for that? I mean, the government says that he did kill himself. Most people don't believe that's true, and so nowadays the establishment doesn't want you to be able to say that. They want to be able to sue you to make you believe the official story and not question it.
Okay.
But it's not working.
Let's put a pin in Epstein. We'll definitely come back to Epstein. Definitely want to talk about that today. Okay. That's not good, is it?
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, the Jeffrey Epstein blackmail rings are real. I don't understand. I'm not sure what you're getting at. I mean, I just don't understand the question. Like any American has a right to do. I'd have to go through the specifics.
What about Roger Stone? Is he an employee of yours?
Nope.
Has he ever been an employee of
Yes.
yours? Okay. When did he stop being an employee?
Or no, he's a contractor. Can we take a break?
Yeah, we can take a break.
Going off the record at 10:12 a.m.
Yeah, can you hold that up for the camera for us? Can you hold that a little higher so we can zoom in on that? Okay, that's Mr. Badandi?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jones. Do you see where it says, in an interview with InfoWars reporter Dan Badandi following the hearing?
Yes.
Okay. And you'll see that this story, if you look back at the front, it says July 7th, 2015, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Badandi was back in Newtown in 2015, correct?
Yes.
Back during your prior testimony in March, we watched a video of Badandi in Newtown following people on the street, accusing them of being liars and criminals. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think that's good.
Okay. Mr. Fetzer is a retired professor and a rabid anti-Semite, right?
I don't know that.
You didn't know Mr. Fetzer was a rabid anti-Semite?
No, I don't know that.
You didn't know that Mr. Fetzer thinks the Jews did Sandy Hook?
No, I don't know that.
Just like he thinks the Jews did 9/11? You remember at the end of the 2016 election, there was some media coverage about how you had said on your show that Trump had called you and to thank you for your help in the election? Mm-hmm. And some of those mainstream media sources were, kind of trying to pile on you about that. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. Could you hold that up for the camera real quick? Can you hold that up again? All right. right, thank you. This part of the video dealt with the Wayback Machine, correct?
Yes.
Okay, you said it's the biggest piece of evidence, the smoking gun. Explain to me what you meant by that. Please wait till I answer a question, because as you can see, it's very frustrating for this man. And he's not here affiliated with any party. He's a private person who's paid to provide a service. He's coming here to try to write all this down so we have a good record. So let's try to behave in the deposition. Let me finish my questions. You wouldn't agree with me then that you and Nancy Grace are basically two peas in a pod? You do basically the same thing? Well, I mean, I'll just tell you, Nancy Grace does really, really reckless tragedy porn. And you do the same thing with the conspiracy twist, don't you?
Well, I mean, that looks like green screen to me when his face turns and the nose disappears.
You work in internet video, right?
Internet video.
Yeah, that's part of your job.
I don't know what internet video means, but
You publish videos to the internet, correct?
yes.
Okay. You run an internet-based media company, correct?
No.
Okay. You've seen a lot of internet videos.
Yes.
You knew that wasn't blue screen. Are you really going to tell me you thought that was blue screen?
That's exactly what it looks like.
Okay. What efforts did you make to find out?
I mean, I've seen that's the most classic thing is on the line. If the colors are close to each other, it'll disappear. I know you guys said it was video artifacts and stuff. Those are usually boxes and where stuff blurs out over large areas. It doesn't just do it on the nose or on the line or on the shoulders.
Okay.
With blue screen or chroma key, it's along the outlines.
So the answer to the question is nothing. You made no actual efforts to find out if that was blue screen. You just looked at it and said, looks like blue screen.
I mean, that's exactly when you should. I mean, and I'm not saying that means Anderson Cooper's involved in Sandy Hook or something. It's just saying that the CNN's famous for faking locations.
Again, you made no efforts to find out. That's all I'm asking.
Well, you guys were asking if we have an email in our emails. I was reporting on other news reports about an alert they put out to their group.
All right. Could you find those reports if you needed to? Could you identify your source?
Well, I mean, you can hold back a source if you want to, but I remember being online. I can try to go find that again.
What do you mean you can hold back a source if you want to? What does that mean?
I mean, if I have a confidential source on something, I'm allowed to hold back the confidential source for their protection. But that's not what's happened in this case. I remember the news articles about it that we reported on.
So you could find those, right?
I should be able to.
Okay. This bit about Robbie Parker, the whole fake crying bit, the hoo 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 hoo, that bit. I'm curious. Do you feel any shame about that, or are you totally fine with seeing video of yourself do that?
I don't think I did it quite the way you did, but
Do you feel any shame about it, or are you fine seeing video of yourself do that?
I did not kill those children. I know the media and everybody wants to make it that way, and I have a right to question things. And the internet.
Let's back away from what you think you have a right or not right to do on television. Let's just back away from that for a moment. I'm just talking as a human being. Does seeing you do that on video, does that make you feel ashamed?
I mean, that's what he did on video. So that's what happened.
So the answer's no.
Can you play it again?
Oh, I don't think we need to play it again, Mr. Jones, just to burn the time. I'm just asking you if
I'm not trying to burn the time. I'm just like, this is.
saying the porta potty, being there an hour after Sandy Hook, that's
Well, I
a
mean,
fact.
they do admit the chemical attacks were fake. That's been confirmed now.
You don't use a teleprompter on your show,
No.
okay? And in all these videos, you just rattle them off, right? You say, porta potties, Bloomberg email, green screen, helicopters in the woods, school was closed, video showing it was falling, rotting apart, SWAT team. You just rattle them off without a teleprompter.
I remember a video of the rotting school. I remember the helicopter video. I remember the chemical attack in Syria being staged. That's now public.
And you were able to do that without a teleprompter. But today, sitting in deposition, ever since you got sued, all of a sudden you can't remember anything, right?
No, I remember seeing I remember like the photos and video of the rotting school and the mold and the stains all the floor and all that stuff. I just can't. But if it's specifically in a deposition, then you'll say, well, where is that? And then trying to actually pull that very thing up in my head right here. I mean, I don't have photographic memory of the exact thing.
Yeah, I've been asking for a year, haven't I? Still don't have it, do I?
I just want to be able to answer all this just exactly right, and that's why I can't answer a lot of it because I want to be accurate as much as possible.
Jones, you know that's not my question. You're just wasting time.
We are back on the record at 11:26 a.m.
Mr. Jones, do you remember in the summer of 2017 you appeared for an interview with Megyn Kelly?
I do.
Okay. Shortly before that aired, you published a video where you asked her not to air it, correct? Thank you. All right, Mr. Jones, I'm going to hand you what I've marked as Exhibit 12.
Those aren't my words.
Didn't you?
I didn't write that. I really don't. Can you refresh my memory? I remember it being reported.
Yeah, that's bad, isn't it? Is that what you think?
All I know is that you basically live and breathe Sandy Hook. No, I do believe. I think there might have been another shooter, and I mean that's my right to think that.
Okay.
I believe. I'm trying to go back to the.
We're correct?
I don't remember that from the very beginning. No.
Mr. Jones, this is an email that you received, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that a yes, Mr. Jones?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
This is an email you received.
Yes.
Okay.
You played a lot of videos and a lot of short and a lot of edited ones, so it was a blur. I don't remember those specifics.
All I'm asking you, Mr. Jones.
I don't have any opinion on that.
Okay. One thing I noticed you said in that video about 2 minutes in is that I knew we sent our reporter, Dan Bedondi, there for days to cover it.
If I really remember correctly, all the dates bleed together. No, I don't have that in front of me. Oh.
Correct?
Oh, I thought that was rhetorical.
No, I don't ask rhetorical questions, Mr. Jones. I want testimony.
I don't have that in front of me. I can't speak accurately to that. Mm-hmm. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. You stand by that, the idea that there are multiple videos of parents crying that are pure acting method?
I'm saying that's what they appeared like. My point is that then you'll release this video and say that I did it again for publicity, and that's not a very nice thing to do.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be not nice.
No, but you'll say Jones has done it again and release the video. I know. But
I won't say that again. Let's make an agreement between you and me right now. I won't say that. How about that?
Okay.
Does that sound okay?
But your surrogates will when you release this video.
Yeah, I think people are going to be interested in talking about this video.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's you that keeps bringing it up and releasing it and doing that. So.
Yeah, I mean, we were seeing you were doing the same thing right up until you were sued, right?
When people brought it up, my listeners did not like hearing about Sandy Hook.
All right.
Like America thinks that Epstein did not kill himself. Are you going to sue all them?
Yeah, hold on. We'll get to that. I promise.
We'll get to Epstein?
I promised you we will. I absolutely promise you.
Okay. That is my opinion at the time that I was saying how my mind felt. I'm even saying in the video, I've gone back and forth.
So when
and there's a move to make it not questioning the received knowledge, whether you're right or wrong, is what the country's fundamentally founded on, and there's an assault on that now. And if I said the moon was made out of cheese as an opinion, whether I'm on a radio show or on the street corner, I'm allowed to. And I legitimately, looking at all that stuff, have gone back and forth on all of this.
Kids died at Sandy Hook, right?
And I didn't kill them.
Do you see me anywhere in this deposition saying you killed children, Mr. Jones?
Remington didn't kill them.
Do you think you're
the
here?
dead teacher didn't kill them.
You think you're here because you killed children? That's the accusation?
No, but it is like I'm Adam Lanza or something, and it's all just...
Let's talk about Epstein for a minute. Been wanting to talk about that. I think maybe, and I'm going to take a guess here, but I think one of the things that you and I agree on is that large segments of the ruling class of this country, and indeed the world, are psychopaths and criminals.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay. And in fact, because of that, when these really, really strange happenings with Epstein happened, when Epstein killed himself in his cell, allegedly, when he was supposed to be under watch by federal officials, that looks suspicious, to say the least. Correct?
Yes, sir.
In fact, I think a lot of people in this country think it's most likely true that there was foul play, that Epstein was killed. A lot of people think that, right?
Yes.
And now Epstein's a massive public figure. He's been in the news a ton, right?
Yes.
Partially because of something called the Lolita Express, right?
Yes.
Okay. And we in this country get to talk about public figures. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
So, let's take George Bush, for example. I think it's fine if you want to get on TV and say George Bush did 9/11. That's something you're allowed to do, right?
Well, I said that they definitely covered it up.
Yeah, right. And let's just say for a moment that you were right, or maybe you were wrong and George Bush didn't have anything to do with covering up 9/11. Either way, it's not illegal for you to say that, right?
Well, I believed, and it's been sussed out and proven, that they had prior knowledge and stood down, and they did it. They wrote in PNAC they did it so they could invade the Middle East. I think that's wrong.
Well, let's talk about Epstein for a minute. There's nothing illegal There's nothing illegal about you saying, I don't think Epstein killed himself.
I mean, I believe, if I believe there was foul play probably, and the evidence points towards it, that's why I talk about it. I could be wrong. It could come out he did kill himself.
And if you did, that's okay too, right? Because he's a public figure. We're allowed to talk about him,
Well,
right?
yes, and Sandy Hook was a big public event that was then projected onto American gun owners. And so they didn't like being blamed for something they didn't do.
All right, well, let's talk about, let me give you an example. Let's say that there is a security guard. If you wanted to get on TV and say, Bob Smith killed Jeff Epstein, and you were wrong, should you be held responsible for that? Private citizen like Bob Smith had no involvement in trying to get on the news? Is it okay?
I mean, if there were issues and anomalies, and I questioned whether Bob was involved or not, then no.
No, what I'm asking, Mr. Jones, is you just flat out say Bob Smith killed Jeff Epstein. Is that okay if you're wrong? Or do you have some responsibility to Bob Smith to make that right?
Not if I did it out of believing it was true. And I told you that it would be the specifics, that if there was reporting and information and there were questions about it, and Bob was the only one that could have had access, and then I questioned and it turned out Bob was innocent. If I wasn't doing it intentionally to go hurt Bob, no. I mean, Bob was there, he's working there, someone's died, and so around any crime or event, people are going to always look. It's like a clue or a whodunit. There's 5 people at the dinner party, or 7 people, and the lights go off and somebody's got a steak knife in them. Everybody is implicated and looked at.
You know who Richard Jewell is? You ever heard that name?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you're familiar about accusations made against him in the 1996 Olympic bombing, correct?
There's a big movie coming out about it. Clint Eastwood's making it.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood's making. I saw that. It's unfair what happened to Richard Jewell. You'd agree with me?
Yes.
He was innocent, right?
I think that's been proven.
And a lot of people in media said he wasn't innocent. Said he committed the bombing, right?
And then because a lot of the evidence looked like that, and that's what the FBI thought. But I don't think the media lied and said they thought he was guilty on purpose.
You don't think the media was careless in that case?
No, I think they went with the authority of the FBI and others, and the way it looked, that a lot of times somebody that finds a bomb before it goes off, generally in the criminology, a lot of times it staged it. So I think that that's the thing about justice, is that it's not perfect. Humans aren't perfect.
So the media has no responsibility to Richard Jewell.
I'm not saying the specifics of it. Quite frankly, I saw the trailer for the movie the other day, and I have to refresh my memory to it. But
Sure, okay. But what I'm trying to get to you, Mr. Jones, is do you agree that there's a difference between an internationally recognized famous person and a person who spent millions, if not billions, trying to influence our country, like Jeff Epstein, and a private citizen just minding their own business? There's a difference between those two people, right?
There is a difference.
There is a difference in journalistic ethics and how you have to treat those two people, isn't there?
I think there is.
And at the end of the day, with a private person, you would agree with me that InfoWars needs to take appropriate steps to make sure it isn't reporting false things about private people.
And when parents and others become public figures and go out with a political mission to restrict gun ownership, then they've stepped into the arena of politics.
You know courts disagree with you on that, though, right?
I don't know your interpretation of courts.
Well, you are involved in a lawsuit with Leonard Posner and Veronique De La Rosa. You familiar with that lawsuit?
I know about it.
Yeah, you know the Texas Court of Appeals came back and told you they're not public figures, correct?
And I know that that's a Democrat court.
I'm sure they'll be delighted to hear that.
Well, I mean, the Supreme Court's reversing the Ninth Circuit, all that stuff, and that's just what goes on.
We are back on the record at 12:46 p.m.
Mr. Jones, did you have a question?
Sorry, Mr. Speaker. I really need to clarify something because I don't think you understood what I said earlier, so I probably mumbled through it.
Okay.
To clarify my earlier testimony, you kept asking about sources and where these sources are. When we have articles and things, most of it is links. 90% of things is links to other sources that are online, and then over time those links die, and it's very hard to find that stuff. So anything that we haven't given you is outside of my office and not in my office. When you say a source, that would just be newspapers and archives and TV reports that are outside of my office on the internet. Sources for things that I'm thinking about from memory that I need to go out and find. So I must have misunderstood what you meant by sources.
I'm sure. Okay. Mr. Barnes, Robert Barnes, is no longer representing you?
No.
Okay. Is he still employed by the company?
No.
Okay, so he's not general counsel in any
No.
way. While he was there, did he have any managerial responsibilities?
No.
Okay. Did he at one point serve as general counsel?
If that's the name you call it, he was trying to manage some things.
What does that mean, he's trying to manage some things?
He was trying to get the cases organized.
Okay, so he's practicing law.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's say after this deposition, I go to the media and I tell them, you're Bill Hicks. You faked your death and you're a liar. Is that my opinion or have I defamed you?
That's your opinion.
Okay, so people are allowed to do that in your mind.
I think they are. But I'm not. I don't sit there and knowingly get things wrong.
Okay, no, what I'm asking you, Mr. Jones, if I accuse you of being an imposter, if I say that you're a liar and that you're not really who you say you are, have I damaged you in some way?
I haven't sued anybody that calls me Bill Hicks.
So the media can report that, and that's totally fine in your mind. What if I said that this court reporter is Bill Hicks, and that he's lying and he faked his death?
No, I'm not saying that.
Oh, I'm saying it, Mr. Jones. I'm saying it. Have I done anything wrong? If I get on TV and say that?
That's up to him, his view.
No, I'm asking you.
I'm not a court reporter.
I'm not asking you if you're a court reporter. I'm asking you, have I done anything wrong?
That's a moral judgment, and I'm not speaking for the court reporter.
I'm asking you to make a moral judgment for yourself.
I've not said he's somebody else.
I did. Right now. I just said that. Is it wrong?
If you believe that, then you might be, just have a mental problem or something. If you did it to hurt him, then that would be different.
So it doesn't matter how incompetent I am, how wrong I am, how bad I am at my job.
No, when you
doesn't
have
matter.
a giant train of media staged events and lawsuits like this by the establishment don't stop the public from questioning the system.
Let me get this straight.
So
It would be natural and normal for me to accuse this court reporter of being Bill Hicks and having faked his death.
No, but it would be normal when you see ABC News saying, here's Trump allowing a city to be blown up, to go, that's probably not true, this probably isn't. Now, I know you guys probably don't know about that, but, that's... You didn't hear about ABC News and the fake city being blown up?
He said we're the establishment. When you say we're the establishment, what do you mean by that?
Just people that buy the party line, just believe whatever they're told.
That's what we are. Me and Mr. Ogden?
It's okay to have my opinion, right?
Sure.
Okay.
That's your opinion, though?
I mean...
This is just a witch hunt by the establishment.
Oh, the establishment isn't all behind you? It isn't backing you?
Oh, I know the establishment doesn't like you, Mr. Jones. I understand that very
Okay.
well.
All right.
I understand that very well. I'm asking you, do you believe this lawsuit, us here, that we're involved in some sort of conspiracy against you? Or do you think I just found a good case?
Well, two people agreeing on something is a conspiracy. So I don't know. When you say that...
Sure. Am I in a conspiracy with the establishment? Is that what you think?
Well, I think you like publicity and stuff like that, and you're casting yourself as the good guy or whatever, and everything. That's fine. That's what you're doing.
When you say I like publicity, you see me on TV?
Yeah, with Megyn Kelly and all that.
Yeah, about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. You ever see me on TV again?
I've seen you talking to the press and trying to get on television.
I don't think I've been on television, Mr. Jones, but
Okay,
maybe that's not important.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. I had asked you earlier in this deposition. It seemed like you didn't feel any shame about the things you were saying.
I did all this from a good place in my heart, and I'm really sad the establishment has lied so much and done so much that the public doesn't believe what they're told anymore. There's been a real loss of confidence in the system.
Let me get this straight. These videos we just watched today, you're proud of those videos?
I'm proud of the compendium of my work, not small clips taken out of context. And I'm a good person, and I pioneered exposing Epstein 13 years ago. Said they fly around an aircraft with the Clintons would kidnap children, and it's been proven right. Everybody comes up, shakes my hand, apologizes in Austin. Now the liberals do. They go, "We're sorry," and we were wrong about you, and on a bunch of other stuff.
So in some ways, you're a victim.
Well, let's just say time's running out for the establishment. Epstein didn't kill himself.
All right, Mr. Jets. Thank you for your time today. Until next time.
This concludes the depo at 12:54 p.m. We are off the record.
Okay, I see what you're getting at. You could show me something and I could look at it and tell you if it was germane or not. I guess it would depend on what questions you asked. Are you considering receiving an email on a giant email blast garnering tips or research? Is that what you're
If they
referring
apply,
to?
if in any way they relate to the videos.
Because that's
contained-
what I feel is
Hold
going on. You're going to ask me.
Let's stop here.
Okay.
I don't-
It's possible he was. But
Okay.
no, that might have been Alex's interpretation of what I told him. What my uncle specifically said was that I've never been to a meeting with government people where nobody knows nothing. That's what he said. Paul Watson, Aaron Dykes. I do specifically remember looking for the original, finding the best source we could find on that, because CNN did not have the video on their website, and I do remember it was a different website that wasn't CNN that had the video, and it was the best looking quality. And
What website was that?
I couldn't tell you.
Did you?
Couldn't tell you this day, but it was a website that was grabbing news feeds. They were like an aggregator. I don't remember the name, and it was, I grabbed the video, and then we had the video.
You're here on behalf of Free Speech Systems, and you had a responsibility today to be prepared to discuss the source of the information in that video. Correct?
Sure, and I think I'm telling you everything that I know and that would happen.
It's not everything you know, Mr. Dew. It's everything Free Speech Systems knows. And so if there is an email out there that you claim has been produced to us, who's it from? What date? What's it say?
I don't know.
Did you look for it in preparing for today?
No, I did not.
Why?
I don't know if our system goes back that far. That would have been sometime in January maybe of 2013.
Do you believe, sitting here right now, that you're prepared to discuss the sourcing and research that went into why people think Sandy Hook is a hoax?
Yes, I do, because I edited the video.
Okay. Who was the source?
I don't know. It was probably an anonymous person.
I didn't ask that. I asked who your source of the information was, and you don't know who that was, correct?
Well, I could say I'm the source because I went and found the original video.
Okay. From where?
I don't remember the name of the site
So you don't remember the name of the source?
that had the video. They probably don't exist anymore.
Probably, or they don't.
I don't know.
Right. And what I'm saying is you're not prepared to discuss whether or not they are.
I'm sure the source doesn't exist anymore.
You're sure?
I myself am sure.
Okay,
For free
I'm not-
speech? No, I don't know.
Okay. And have you seen his nose disappear?
Alex's nose? I don't think I've ever seen his nose disappear.
Okay. So it was Alex's expertise on the blue screen, not yours.
Correct.
So all the research would have been done by him. And he didn't really do any research. He just looked at it and said, well, I've never seen that before, so it must be a blue screen.
You'd have to ask him on that, but yes. I mean, I was there when he said it, and he said, that's blue screen.
Well,
That's
I'm
what he
asking
said.
you because you're sitting here today on behalf of the company, and it's your job to know what research he did.
And then later he said he's looked at he's done, maybe he said hundreds of hours of blue screen. The reason there is a Free Speech Systems is because of Alex Jones.
That wasn't you didn't answer my question. My question was Free Speech Systems is okay with Alex Jones looking at something, saying it to be the gospel, and then putting it up on the internet for millions to see.
It was his, I think it's his free speech right to say that that's what he thinks it is.
And my question was Free Speech Systems is okay with that.
Correct.
Do you have any journalistic principles in writing for everybody to review and adhere to before they put content up for millions to see?
He puts up what he feels he wants to put up, and I'm not sure.
Well,
It depends on when he's got the journalistic hat on or when he's got his, he's a commentator. He's being a pundit. There's different hats he wears, and I think he changes them out frequently.
Okay. You remember when I deposed you a few months ago? Mm-hmm. We had a conversation about Free Speech Systems and what their roles are generally.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And I asked you whether or not what portion of Free Speech Systems was journalism and what portion was not. And you said the majority of what we do is journalism. You remember that?
Yeah, because we're presenting the news of what is going on in the world. And we're either showing videos or reading other people's articles or.
And when you're presenting the news, there's principle, there's a responsibility that a company has for that, right?
Yeah.
What responsibility is that?
To get the truth as best you can.
As the best you can. Are there steps in place to ensure that you do get the truth out there, that you don't make a mistake?
Well, I don't think anybody's infallible of making not making a mistake. I think mistakes have been made in the past, and we've owned up when we've made mistakes.
Which mistake is that? I'll give you some examples.
Okay, give me some examples.
Mistake or not mistake? Anderson Cooper was was in front of a blue screen.
The only reason I would say it's not 100% because somebody asked him if he was there, and he denied being at the funeral.
You know that's not true.
So, no, there's video of it. There's video of a guy asking him during a taping of a show. He said, "Hey, were you at the funeral?" And he goes, "No, I wasn't."
Right. He wasn't at and inside the funeral. You understand that you've been a corporate representative for Free Speech Systems and other lawsuits in Texas, correct? Mm-hmm. And I'm involved with those, correct?
I'm sure you are.
You understand that an expert who has decades of service in the FBI in video forensics determined that that was not a blue screen, but was simply video compression. Did you know that?
I've heard people say stuff. The FBI also said they put up photos of two guys who supposedly bombed the Boston Marathon and said they didn't know who they were when they'd interviewed them. So the FBI lies a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't trust the FBI?
I don't really trust much in the government.
Okay.
That comes out of the government.
Do you trust anonymous sources on 4chan?
I don't know if I've ever used an anonymous source on 4chan. What I'm testifying to is that it's been our experience that the FBI has lied many times to cover their own ass, essentially.
Did you tell your uncle that?
Yeah, I've told him that.
Okay.
I told him I don't like how they go find poor guys and set them up and like, hey, you want to go bomb something? Here's a bomb. We're going to do this. I don't agree with that. I think that's it's not the way to have a world that works.
Okay. Earlier you mentioned that you broadcast information as it comes in, right?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. So
sometimes it's live. Yeah.
What are the sources that you do trust for information that you put out to the public?
Well, I mean, I would say sometimes we've used CNN, but we also think CNN lies. But we've taken, in CNN's case, we've looked at their videos. I don't think I understand your question.
Yeah. Name someone at Free Speech Systems that's qualified to break down an FBI investigation and determine that it's wrong. You can start with just one name. It's getting slightly uncomfortable.
Is it?
Just start with one name, and then we'll go to see if you have two.
Okay. Well, I think Alex Jones could break down an FBI investigation and look at it and figure out whether it's true or false. And I think he's done that in the past.
Has he ever gotten it wrong?
We don't always take everything at face value.
And you understand at times matters of national security can allow lies.
Oh, that's right. There's always that. Yes, I understand.
Okay.
There's always national security. I know.
I was making sure we were on the same page there.
Yeah. And see, we're going back and forth. We're in the present day, I believe kids were shot and killed. I have no evidence.
Okay. And I just wanted to make sure, again, we're sitting here as you make up information and spread it.
As I make up information and spread it. Okay. I don't know if we have that video in our possession anymore.
Who did the research for this video? Who gave the research, or excuse me, what was the source of the information in this one?
I don't know.
Did you do anything to prepare where the information came from in this video that you don't know what it's about?
No.
Government, spelled G-O-V''T.
Mm-hmm.
July 7th, 2015.
I'm not sure if I ever had a meeting on that.
July 7th, 2015.
A professional wrestler was a governor of Minnesota.
Okay.
I mean, what does that have to do with it?
Just asking whether or not you were aware that Mr. Badandi was a semi-professional wrestler.
Okay.
So it's weird that we were produced in this case for the first time an email that you're involved with that has Dan Badandi being fired for how he was acting at a Donald Trump rally in 2016. Fun fact, right?
That is a fun fact.
All right, let's get back to this list of videos that we're not going to be able to discuss. November 18th, 2016.
So you're saying the FBI has never lied to us before? I think I've questioned them a couple times.
How'd that go for you?
I'm still working.
All right.
So
I think it's a good time to take a break. His hands have got to be tired.
there's several people in InfoWars who have been fired and hired at different times. And I don't think we ever considered him fully an on-board employee. He was more of a contractor because we were paying invoices to a contractor.
Right, and we talked about that at your last deposition, and that's exactly what you said, except you told me that he had been fired immediately after that video of him harassing those people and the lawyers at the courthouse in Newtown. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that wasn't exactly true, was it?
Well, and then he came back after, I think what happened is he got some congressman to tell him to, I don't know if he told him to shut the F up or something like that, and he had video of it, and it was during a gun, Second Amendment legislation going through Delaware. And so I think he got brought back on in that capacity to allow for him to produce reports for us again.
Okay, so
But he was never hired back. He was never hired back in terms of full-time employment.
right, but you contracted with him after you told me that you cut ties completely with him in a text message. That's what you testified to under oath, swearing to God.
Right, and at the time we had cut ties completely with him.
Yeah, but at the time I asked you that question, you'd also recontracted with him all the way up until December of 2015 and paid him in January, and then also sent him messages all the way up through June of 2016 regarding him being a contractor for Free Speech Systems. But none of that was in your answer, right?
I'm not sure what the answer or what the question was at the time, but I don't think you have to be in a well-regulated militia to be a Second Amendment steward.
Right. I was just asking which part of the Second Amendment you were a steward of.
That the right to bear arms shall not be infringed.
And bear arms is not the animal, but it's actually the ability to bear arms and protect yourself against tyranny.
What do you mean the animal?
Oh, have you ever heard of bears?
Yeah, I've heard of bears.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't confused, because we've had a lot of confusion in this room today with our questions.
Objection.
Rawr.
November 18th, 2016. Let's go to June 13th, 2017. It's the 55th video.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever had Jim Fetzer on the show.
You
concerning
definitely,
Sandy Hook.
you definitely relied on his information, correct? A multitude of times.
I don't know.
Do you still stand by the statements you gave to me in March?
Well, it's possible that they were, I didn't have all the information in front of me at the time.
Do you understand that back in March, as well as today, you have a legal duty to be prepared to discuss the topics that I give you? Do you know that?
Sure, but I don't know if that means, I don't know every question you're going to ask me.
Right, but you know the topics.
I mean, somebody was inspired by Bernie Sanders to go shoot at a bunch of congressmen.
Right. I don't even know if these are all your Sandy Hook videos. These are just the ones
Well, you
that
could
I
thank
could
YouTube
find.
for that. You could thank YouTube and Facebook and everybody else.
So you don't know. That's just you making something up and spreading it to people.
No, that's not what I'm doing.
Then what are you doing?
The same thing you're doing.
I'm asking questions.
Oh,
What are you doing?
okay.
When you say something and you're not sure if it's true, but you sit here under the penalty of perjury and swear to God that it is the truth, what is that other than lying?
I'm not lying.
Then what is it called when you make up something that you aren't sure of when you've sworn to tell the truth and the complete truth? What is that called in your mind?
I'm not lying. We're having, you're asking me questions, but we're also having back and forth on a multitude of topics.
We are having back and forth on a multitude of topics. I'm just asking you questions and expecting you to answer them truthfully. And like I said at the beginning, and like I said at the beginning of the last time you and I spoke on the record, don't guess. Because one, it's not fair to anybody in this room. And two, there's no journalistic integrity in doing it. Okay? My last question is, sitting here today on behalf of the company, are you proud of the work that you did, that Free Speech Systems did on Sandy Hook Elementary School and the shooting that happened in December 2012?
I think our reporting stopped what was going to be a lot of anti-gun legislation coming down.
You didn't answer my question.
So I am proud
My
of
question was, are you proud of the information that you spread about Sandy Hook?
I don't think we're going to be remembered for Sandy Hook.
What do you think you're going to be remembered for?
I know that's what you want. I know that. Well, I mean, we didn't kill those kids. We didn't cause the situation to happen. You know, I think a lot of this would have been solved had they put out security footage showing the guy even entering the building. They never did that. At the time, I think what we were putting out we thought was correct information at the time.
And you were wrong, correct?
On some instances, we were wrong.
And are you sorry for that?
Am I sorry for being wrong? No. People get things wrong all the time.
Okay. I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
This concludes the deposition at 3:22 p.m. We're off the record.
Good morning, Mr. Watson. My name is Mark Bankson. I'm a plaintiff for the counsel. I'm counsel for the plaintiff in this case. I'm going to be asking you some questions this morning.
Okay.
I am currently sitting in Austin, Texas. Where are you today?
I'm in London, England.
Okay. You are InfoWars chief reporter, is that correct?
No.
Who would you describe as the chief editor of the InfoWars website?
Alex Jones.
First of all, when did you start working with Alex Jones?
I started working with him in spring 2003.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Do you think InfoWars always adhered to what is decent and right in covering this story?
Well, it's a subjective term, but from my personal perspective, decent and right, I would not have covered it in that way, no. I would consider it offensive, but I would also consider it still questioning of events or facts.
What kind of crazy? If Jeff Rintz or Jim Fetzer starts pushing allegations that the children aren't real, and that the parents are fake, and that the crying's all fake, and it's all an act, they're batshit crazy. But if Jones says literally the exact same words on his web broadcast, he's just doing a good job as a journalist?
Well, to kind of combine this with your previous question, I would say the description of them as batshit crazy would also involve things that they've said in the past unrelated to Sandy Hook, maybe about UFOs or alien abduction or holograms on 9/11, which I think was Fetzer's big thing for a while. So, you know, they had a previous of engaging in very obscure conspiracy theories, which would contribute to that description of batshit crazy.
Do you think that their history of doing that is any different than Alex Jones?
No, but again, they had the right to engage in that speech under the First Amendment.
Look, Mr. Watson, at this point, I'm not asking you who had the right to do what. We'll all figure that out. What I'm asking you is Alex Jones and his crazy conspiracies about shadow interdimensional governments and alien fish hybrids, things like this, there's no different than Fetzer and Rintz. There's qualitatively no difference in how they covered conspiracy theories, correct?
Objection.
Well, that's your view. I wouldn't necessarily agree with it.
All right, so in your view, people like Rintz and Fetzer are bad, but Mr. Jones not in the same way.
I would say not in the same way, because I would say Alex was covering the controversy of Sandy Hook, which was circulating before he engaged in the same kind of conspiracy theories. In terms of Fetzer, as was shown in the email, he was antagonistic towards me personally, so I had a bias against him, which was a factor in that email.
In fact, looking back retrospectively, Mr. Jones has said that you're right. Did you know that?
I'm aware of his deposition where he brought up the fact that we had disagreements about it, yeah.
Mr. Jones, I want to show you another document at this point. Mr. Watson, you see here that there is a email to a person that we talked about before, Buckley. Go ahead and scroll to the top of this email that we can see. When you sent this email, Buckley made a joke, and I want to read it to you, okay? When you get an email in your day-to-day business that's talking about lizard people going to the Ascension pad at Sandy Hook and feasting on sacrificed crisis actors, what did you take that to mean?
Well, I mean, lizard people is a David Icke conspiracy theory that the rulers of the world are actually shape-shifting lizards, as far as I understand it.
Is a little caricature of a man who's wearing an undershirt and missing a lot of teeth, Do you have any idea what that's about? Tell me what that hand sign is. See, I thought, and maybe I'm wrong about this, you might be able to clear this up. I thought there was some sort of thing going on 4chan where a bunch of weird neo-Nazis were saying, hey, we can do the OK sign, and since it kind of has a plausibly benign explanation, you can use it as a crypto-fascist symbol for white supremacy. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard of that, but I would say it was that whole thing happened after 2016. I think that started in 2017 when they began that meme.
Are you aware that this caricature here of this man, that's a popular meme on 4chan? Do you remember Mr. Jones doing a mocking imitation of Robbie Parker crying?
I remember questions about whether his crying was genuine from Alex Jones. I don't remember specifically an impersonation.
Okay. Not something you're proud of at InfoWars, correct?
It's not something that I said, so.
Well, it's something you're associated with, right? I mean, I understand you're a media person who's seen a rather meteoric rise in the last few years, and you have a brand. Doesn't it bother you on some level that this ridiculous behavior of Jones and others at InfoWars has somewhat tarnished your brand and made it more difficult for you?
I would say that I aired my grievances at the time, and I think the whole culture of the organisation slowly started to change afterwards, so I did what I could at the time.
Okay. Wasn't enough though, right? Mr. Jones didn't listen to you.
Well, I think that he listens more now.
You threatened to quit over Sandy Hook, correct?
I don't recall any specific conversation threatening to quit. I mean, it's possible, but I don't recall it.
Okay. The reason I asked is Mr. Jones said you threatened to quit. I was wondering if you had any reason to dispute that.
Maybe in the heat of a private conversation, but I don't specifically recall the exact details of the conversation. I wouldn't consider myself a journalist.
You don't think you do any journalism?
I have done journalism, but the vast majority of what I do, I wouldn't consider journalism.
The First Amendment doesn't cover falsely accusing someone of a crime that could severely damage their reputation. You agree with that?
Well, that would be a lawsuit process. It depends. It depends the nature of the accusation. I don't.
Well, I'm telling you
that's why we have defamation laws and libel laws for that to be pursued after the fact. I would compare it to other news organizations who have made claims about events such as the Iraq War, where CNN and others reported that babies were being thrown out of incubators by Saddam Hussein's military, and people who questioned that would be seen as being very offensive to claim that babies weren't thrown out of incubators, but that was later proven to not have happened. So I think it's extremely important to question the nature of major news events, no matter how offensive that may be.
Okay, so let's go to this babies and incubators thing. This is an InfoWars thing I hear a lot. If there was a lie, so my understanding of this is there was a lie made by the media, certain parties of the media, that babies were being thrown out of incubators in Kuwaiti hospitals. Is that correct? Tom Arnold made some comments on Twitter basically implying that Jack Posobiec had some sexual proclivities that involved children.
Yeah.
Okay. And at that time you wrote that Jack Posobiec was perfectly entitled to sue Tom Arnold, and that Tom Arnold is subject to a lawsuit because the First Amendment doesn't cover falsely accusing someone of a crime that could severely damage their reputation. You agree with that?
In that case, yes. Can we have a bathroom break?
We absolutely
have 5
can.
minutes? Okay.
For sure.
5 minutes, okay. No. I went to school, I went to college. I don't have a higher education degree, so that's my background. Now, in college, in the UK, college is different. It means the period after high school, so it's A levels. So I attended college to get A levels, and then I went to a university afterwards for a year and then dropped out.
Do you have any education in journalism?
No,
Do you have any education in United States law?
no,
When it comes to what is or is not allowed under the First Amendment, you really don't have any qualifications to say, do you?
no, but a lot of what I do is related to free speech. So although I don't have any academic qualifications, I would like to consider I have a reasonably good grasp of it.
So Alex Jones is allowed to do that. Other people who claim to be journalists can't, but Alex Jones can do that. That's fine.
Under their own journalistic ethics, they wouldn't. Alex Jones would, because he's an opinion commentator.
And he has no journalistic ethics, correct?
Well, he's not a journalist, so no, he's not. He doesn't abide by those ethics because he's not a journalist.
You know who Rob Dew is?
Yeah.
He's been for many years producing the InfoWars Nightly News, correct?
When that was a show, yeah.
He has been sort of described, I don't know if this is formal or informal, but he's been described as InfoWars news director. Were you aware of that?
Yeah.
Did you know that Mr. Dew testified that the majority of what InfoWars does is journalism?
No, I haven't seen his testimony, so I was not aware of that.
Do you disagree with that assertion?
In terms of on-the-ground reporting, there is a journalistic aspect to it. Yes, I wouldn't say what Alex Jones does is journalism, but we do have people who do what you would call reporting. Yes.
You familiar with journalists like, say, Chris Wallace on Fox News?
Yeah.
Okay. He doesn't go out in the street, does he?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know if he has.
Desk, right?
Sorry?
He sits behind an anchor desk, just like Alex Jones, right?
Mainly, yeah.
So if you don't have to go out in the street, if you're sitting behind an anchor desk reporting facts, you're doing journalism, aren't you?
Objection, form.
No, I would say people like him and Sean Hannity on Fox are opinion commentators, not journalists.
Okay. Can you tell me in your mind, because we've been talking today a little bit about InfoWars having opinions versus assertions of fact. What's the difference between a fact and an opinion?
An opinion is your viewpoint. We live in a world where facts are very subjective, unfortunately, and one side has a set of facts which they agree on, and the other side has a set of facts which they agree on. So it's a very vague concept in 2019. I mean, you can have an opinion on facts that skews one way or the other, so it's very difficult territory.
Well, you'd agree there's certain things, like if I was to say, this person is beautiful, right? That's subjective. It can't be proven ascertainably true or false. It's totally subjective. You'd agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But something like the Sandy Hook school was not an operating school, that can be proven true or false, correct?
Well, it could be proven, but it's then based on whether you believe the proof that's presented. I mean, I believe that it was an operating school, but it's based on the proof that's presented, whether it was or not.
Correct, and you can find out. If you have the right evidence, you can find out, correct?
I mean, you could make a judgment based on that evidence, yeah.
I have heard you say in the past before, and I don't know if you still believe this, that libertarians who claim false flags never happened are almost as stupid as conspiracy theorists who claim every event is a false flag. Is that something you still believe today?
Yeah, I would agree that there are some conspiracies that do happen, but that doesn't mean that everything is a conspiracy, so yes.
So you're aware that Alex Jones has said 9/11 is a false flag, right?
I'm aware that he said that, yes.
You're aware he said that Columbine was a false flag.
Yeah.
You're aware he said Oklahoma City was a false flag.
Yeah.
You're aware he said the Aurora shooting was a false flag.
Yeah.
You're aware that he said the shooting of Gabrielle Giffords was a staged mind control operation, right?
Yeah.
He said the Boston bombing was a false flag.
Correct.
He said there were tweets from Infowars on Twitter saying that the Douglas High School shooting in Parkland, Florida, was a false flag. Correct?
I don't know about the specific term, but yes, generally speaking, yes.
The November 2017 church shooting in Sutherland Springs, Texas, Mr. Jones said that was a false flag.
I don't recall him saying that, but I presume it's possible, yes.
The Las Vegas mass shooting, Mr. Jones said was a false flag.
Yes.
Can you give me an example of a U.S. mass casualty event, like a mass shooting, a bombing, or the like, that Mr. Jones didn't say was a false flag?
I would say the most recent ones post Las Vegas massacre, maybe the Dayton, Ohio shooting, the El Paso shooting. Again, I don't know for sure, but I think after the Las Vegas one, he was more reticent to call them false flags.
After I sued him, right?
I don't know when you sued him.
April 2018. So in the past year, Mr. Jones has stopped saying some of these things, correct?
I wouldn't say he stopped saying them, but I would say that there's a tendency to not directly say that after the event.
Because in the past, he would say it within hours of an event, correct? That it was a false flag?
Well, yeah, that happened, yeah.
You know who Owen Schroyer is, right?
Yeah.
Do you know about Owen Schroyer's video in 2017, which he claimed that what Neil Heslin said on Megyn Kelly was impossible?
I don't recall that exact video, no.
Are you proud of InfoWars coverage of Sandy Hook?
No, I disagree with it from the start, so I can't say I'm proud of it, no.
You didn't stop it, though, did you, Mr. Watson?
Well, I aired my grievances, but I don't control InfoWars, so...
Correct. You aired your grievances in an email that we see, but then after that email in 2015, you just kept working for the company that was doing this, didn't you?
Correct.
You had no objection to taking a paycheck from the man who was leading a 5-year harassment campaign against these Sandy Hook parents. Isn't that true?
Objection form.
I don't believe that he led a harassment campaign against Sandy Hook parents.
Really, that's not something you believe today.
No.
Tell me what steps you took to stop it, because what I want to get at is that I see one email that was produced to us when we asked all documents relating to Sandy Hook, and I've got one email from you raising your complaints, and you say you remember a personal conversation with Mr. Jones.
I don't remember details. I remember there were some conversations, yeah.
What else did you do to try to put a stop to this?
Nothing. I just aired my grievances that I thought we shouldn't be covering it from that angle and said my piece, and that was it.
Mr. Watson, do you have any remorse over what InfoWars did to these parents?
I don't believe InfoWars directly did anything to these parents. I believe that the people responsible for that harassment, which was vile, were not influenced by InfoWars because it was already happening before we heavily covered the subject. So I don't think that InfoWars was responsible for telling anybody or instructing anybody to harass Sandy Hook parents.
Well, InfoWars published a map to where Lenny Posner picked up his mail, said he was trying to destroy the First Amendment, and that we needed to fight back. You understand that?
I don't recall that, but I mean, it's possible that it happened, yes.
That's not good, is it, Mr. Watson?
It's not good, no. I haven't seen any evidence that InfoWars played a role in that from my recollection.
So sitting here in 2019, looking back at the past 7 years of what InfoWars has done, your testimony here today is you don't have any remorse or feel bad about that.
I think it was the wrong approach to take, and I think it was very offensive and wrong to do so, and I aired my grievances at the time.
Do you think Mr. Jones has any responsibility to these parents now? Do you think he should stand behind what he said and be held responsible to them?
I think he's retracted what he said and apologized, and that was the right thing to do, and that's what he did.
So you think that's all he has to do? Because that's just an apology now 7 years later is all that he owes these parents?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Watson, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further? Or shall I-
No, you can go off the record.
Thank you, Mr. Watson.
Thanks a lot. Are we done now?
Yeah.
Yes, we're done.
Right, sounds good. Okay, thank you.